And the river still shines and shimmers in the light as it did in our grandfather's day, when they rode all night to fish in the morning and lived in Willapa Bay.
Next up, we have a buddy of mine. He hails from right here in Astoria, but he spent a lot of time in my neck of the woods, drifting in Cook Inlet, stealing my fish. So, this is Tom Hilton.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Astoria, Oregon. FisherPoets Gathering. I'm Tom Hilton. I'm from Uniontown, Astoria. I'm the son of a socialist Finn, and Dad was a Columbia River gillnetter, and my mother was a Cowles Prairie Indian. I'm glad to say I'm adopted by those people, and they gave me this beautiful life that I'm going to share with you tonight. So my first poem I'm going to do tonight is called Uniontown Supreme Court. I wrote this about a group of men. They used to get together and have coffee. And these men trolled and dragged and crabbed and shrimped and gill-netted the Columbia long before there was a bridge and long before there was, well, the way it is now. So this poem's dedicated to the men of the Uniontown Supreme Court. All that's left is legends. Names etched in a granite wall. Black and white photos for sale in the Maritime Museum store. Boats of wood, hands of steel, hearts of gold. All races, colors, and creeds, a man was valued by his word, his firm handshake, his deeds. White apron supermodels, grinning from ear to ear. Days were measured by seasons, not years. Tatted edges, faded yellow-brown, ripped, torn. Memories of the glory days when gill netting was born. Dilapidated docks, rotten pilings, broken tops beneath our tidal view, skeleton bones, partially submerged, floating homes. Lonely net racks, empty bluestone tanks, broken windows, moldy, musty, dusty, dank. Wooden corks, lead lines, little nets stripped clean of all their glory. No more mug-up, copy time, just empty chairs waiting for stories. Court is no longer in session. Yesterday's myths, see-through, faded, transparent, not bitter, jaded. Today's monofilament tangle nets, Jesus box, deadliest catch drama, overstated, overrated prima donnas. If those pilings could talk, what tales would they weave? Would they be fortuitous of sport fishermen's greed? Countless stories. Work is our joy, fortunes made, love, families, togetherness, life, salmon, laughter, heartbreak, lost. Of butterflies and bow pickers, double enders, power scows, cash buyers and tenders, 4 bits a pound. Clifton, Brookfield, Altoona, Alderbrook, Upper Town, Uniontown, Celilo. Where do they all go? A salmon culture, a menagerie of people, a colorful past, romanticized, plagiarized, and eulogized by people like me. Fishing is more than tradition, Governor. It's a religious ceremony. Ebbing current, tide shifts, surge of chain, pulling our nets, taking us under. These words bury my pain. Black and white photos, names etched in that granite wall. Let's not forget them, the true legends of fall. This mighty river, what it was back then, full of salmon, sturgeon, seiner, trollers, gill netters, cannery women, Stomper, Astoria's fighting fishermen. The story is over. All the legends have died. Our eyes welled with wet. Politicians lied. Last of my tears shed. Obviously not. Cried. So if those pilings could talk, ask one how it was back then. It'll probably tell you, those days are gone forever, kid, with a stroke of a pen. Thank you very much. As Meezie said, I grew up here, but I also spent my summers in Kenai, Alaska from 1977, and then I quit, and then I went back in 2013, 2014. I fished with my dad. He was an original contract fisherman here from Whitney, Fidalgo. They hired him to go up there and catch fish for him, and there was this guy, Harold Dovinsbeck, standing on the beach. He had a case of beer and a fifth of whiskey, and he said, hey boys, sell me your fish. And it was him and three other guys went with him. Abby Ihander, Eldon Corpola, and Bill Gunderson. And they were known as the Bunkhouse Gang. So my dad had this phrase, and his phrase was, one drift and we all go home. And when we would fish, the guys would be talking on the radio, and they'd say, oh, we're gonna run down. And my dad would say, no. Up, you gotta go up. That's where they are, that's where they're going. They're not going down, they're going up. So this is, because it's one drift and we all go home. I took some video in 1998. We sat on the beach for escapement. It was a brutal summer, and I walked around with a VHS camera and took video. And I had 6.5 hours of video, and my son took that video and condensed it into a 20-minute short film. And it's called Because It's One Drift and We All Go Home, and that movie did the film circuit and stuff like that, and we did pretty well with it. It was quite a deal, but I had sent it to him when he was living in New York City, all the cassettes, and I sent it with some smoked salmon and some t-shirts, and the smoked salmon leaked all over everything. But thankfully it didn't mess up the video. So this is Because It's One Drift. And I could tell you more to the story. Was I was sitting at a desk job in Portland, and my buddies are up in Kenai, and they were sending me messages, and they said, hey, Tom, this is what's going on. The fish are moving this way, and this is going this way, tide's going this way, and everything's that way. And I said, just go right over there, lay out. They almost sucked the boat. They had so many fish that day. So I'm a little bit emotional. I'll tell you after this, I'm done with this, but I'll tell you why. And so this is Because It's One Drift and We All Go Home. Man, now that you've got your ticket, the weather will be great, the reds will be thick, just enough to keep the boat off the gear, hanging like grapes. The girls will be friendly, food will be delicious, jokes will be told, legends made, and chasing dogs is foolish. The cast is all gathered, new faces and old, greenhorns and legends, looking for the big score. From the Nilchik, Homer, and Halibut Cove, to the West Side set netters and the girls on Fisherman's Road. They'll be counting down the minutes, throw the wooey ball, looking for bunches hitting, and telling stories in the mess hall. Because it's summertime in Alaska, along the peninsula, the reds are running and jumping and finning their way home. They're running up the inlet. That's how they run in the land of milk and honey in the midnight sun. Maggots line that college hole bank, pukers with full boats. The dippies are up to their neck in our wakes. An eagle flies alone. South wind blows, pizza at Parada sows, sun never sets, baseball at Oilers Park, drive down to North Beach, the boys belly up Kenai Joe's bar. Smell of blood, sweat, Gurry. The gulls shuffle along the tin roof of the bunkhouse, hurry, squawking, talking, sharing a meal. No time to lick your wounds or let your bruises heal. Not so young anymore. No youthful zeal. Ice in the cooler, boats clean, windows washed. Crank up the tunes. Eric Hyde, it's your time, but we'll watch. No time for sleep, looking for jumpers. Radio crackles, the sound of squelch. Last sip of coffee, Mountain Dew belch. South 210, that's the heading. South end of the island, that's what we're betting. The Reds are laying along the edge of the bar. Last of the flood, high water down. Load the boat, head to town. Because it's one drift, and we all go home. East on the flood, west on the ebb, that's the rules to follow. Look for the jumpers, follow the seams, up the inlet, sunken net in your dreams. Because it's summertime in Alaska. Along the peninsula, the Reds are running and jumping and finning their way home. They're running up the inlet. That's how they run in the land of milk and honey and the midnight sun. So I'm going to have a moment of realness here. Right before I came in here at 5:30, I just got a text that said one of my good friends died of a heart attack. 5:30 this evening. So kind of a tough gig there. Come up here and do this. I built a crab company inside Pier 39. My buddy Floyd Hookham. And the guy I mentioned in the boat, Eric Hyde, as the guy who passed away. So I think we should have a moment of silence for this gentleman because he served our country in the United States Army and Special Forces and did a bunch of stuff, helped make our world a great place. And he did a lot of wonderful stuff for our community right here in Astoria. So maybe let's give Eric a moment of silence. This is a poem written by my good friend Hillel Wright. There's an island up north out in Queen Charlotte Sound that the trollers know well when they're Prince Rupert bound. When the easterly gale scuds the clouds across the sun and the whitecaps come to Carson, God's pocket they run. Oh, the entrance is narrow and the anchorage is deep. Boats wrapped up together while the deckhands doesn't sleep. And the skipper drinks coffee as the cabin lights burn. And the dreams of tomorrow, God's pocket astern. The fishing drags on through the calm and the storm. And the tonnage adds up as the crews dream of home. When the season is over, the fish ice below. When the darkness falls early, to God's pocket they go. Oh, the entrance is narrow and the anchorage is deep. Boats wrapped up together while the deckhands do sleep. And the skipper drinks coffee as the cabin light burns. And he dreams of tomorrow, God pocket astern. And up in the morning, at the first light of dawn, across the wide channel, the trollers have gone. The island lie lonely with the rocks in the wind. God's pocket remembers all the sailors within. And now I want to do something fun. This gentleman that got on here earlier this evening, he had y'all singing and stuff. I got this nickname, and I've had this nickname for a long time. And I coached high school basketball at Tualatin, and when I walked around the track one time at a high school football game, everybody started chanting, time, bomb, tom. Time, bomb, tom. Time, bomb, tom. Come on, let me hear you say it. Gosh, man. What are you guys? Come on. Yep, that's right. Time Bomb Tom. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Okay, thank you so much for talking with us today about the Fisher Poets Gathering. We really appreciate your stopping. Can I ask your names and where you're from?
Christine
And Phil.
from Portland.
Yeah.
And is this your first time at the Poets Gathering?
No, it's
Third.
our third time. Third time
Yeah.
at the Poets.
Okay.
Before COVID and this one.
So if you're here 3 times, you really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's motivated you to come back. What is it you've super enjoyed about it?
Oh, the variety.
The variety. Yeah. There's some of the artists you want to hear longer, and yet 15 minutes, and then you're on to kind of somebody else, and the songs and the poetry and the prose, and some of it's very heartwarming, and some of it's just funny.
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay, I know we only had performances last night that you probably went to. We haven't seen tonight's yet, but for what you've seen so far this year, what was your favorite?
Oh, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's such a variety.
It's the immersive experience, and there's such heart from each of those that are presenting, and it's such an honor and privilege to be in the audience. So we're loving all of it.
Oh my gosh, you were the perfect people to interview. So you said that so beautifully. So tips for anybody coming in, or anything you want to tell them to lure them in?
You can't go wrong with any of the venues. Just pick one, and I don't know.
And you can always get up and walk at any time, and it's so welcoming here in Astoria, and it's a perfect spot. And it's small. It feels like intimate encounter, being able to hear these such personal stories, and then you get to mill around and see faces that look familiar and new faces, and you just come. You're gonna love it.
You know what? It's been my privilege to talk with the two of you. Thank you so much for your time.